What's up everyone? Welcome to Real Drug Talk. Today we have Johnny on the show. He's been good enough to come on and tell a bit of his story, and today we're going to be talking heroin, and we want to talk a little bit about the nuances of it. It's been a question that I get from a lot of people about delving a little bit deeper into what heroin addiction is all about, and different questions that I get arising from different videos that we've done or people speaking about it and stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to dive into that, but thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Awesome. So can you tell myself and the people watching a little bit about, give us the 2-minute snapshot of your story, and you know what your life's been like up until this point.
Okay, cool. So name is Johnny, as you guys know. I'm 27 years old. So I come from a Vietnamese background. So ever since I was young, I was very quiet, shy. My parents separated when I was 11, so I kind of lacked the confidence within myself.
Yep.
So growing up, I didn't have any friends. I was bullied in school because of my background. I didn't fit in. And in high school, I kind of met this group that were experimenting with drugs.
Yep.
And I kind of felt like it was a good chance for me to fit in with people. And when I tried the drugs, it made me feel good too. I was confident, I can talk to people, I can interact. So in the beginning, it was just awful fun.
So what was your first drugs?
My first drug? Okay, so the first drug that I tried was ecstasy.
Yep.
So I had half a pill, and it made me feel really good.
Yep.
And slowly, so originally I was going to the clubs, went to the raves, used the ecstasy pills, and eventually we started smoking speed.
Yep.
And so I got introduced to ice as well.
Yep.
And then after ice, we tried heroin.
So how old were you when you tried ice, do you reckon?
Ice, I probably tried when I was about 17.
Yeah.
17, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I had that first puff, it made me feel really, really good. Like it kind of took me away from myself for a bit.
Yeah.
I felt really confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I can see why it's really addictive, because within our community these days, everyone's really broken and they're not happy with themselves too. So through feeling good like this, who doesn't want it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so just, because something that's interesting for me that I get asked a lot, and that a lot of people are definitely very interested in, is that I guess on the scale of drugs, you know, using speed or ice is kind of that next, and heroin is that next step from taking marijuana or smoking a bit of pot with your friends or drinking or whatever.
Yeah.
So what was your mindset at that time? Like when you first tried it, were you nervous? Were you anxious? Were you scared? Were you excited to do it? What kind of got you over the line, would you say, to a point where you were willing to try those harder drugs, for a lack of a better word?
Because even trying drugs itself, it had a big stigmatism at the time. Doing drugs was really bad.
Yeah.
And we were doing speed, and I didn't hear much about speed that was really bad, but then they were kind of experimenting with ice and heroin, and then a lot of people were saying, oh, don't hang around, this guy is using ice, using heroin. But I think the thing that kind of took me over the line, for me personally, was kind of getting the approval of other friends.
Yeah.
Fitting in.
Yeah.
Fitting in. So that's pretty much what took me over the line. I was willing to fit in by trying this new drug.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So the main thing was to fit in. And also when I tried it, it felt good. So it was almost like to me, it felt like a win-win at that time, which is it's far from it, but that's what it felt
there
at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I tell that to people a lot, actually. The reason why people take those drugs again is because it's amazing, the first euphoric feeling in terms of the euphoria that you get from it. All right, cool. So skipping forward, what happened next? So you tried ice and started using those drugs?
Yeah, so I started using those drugs for a while. In the beginning, it was just for fun.
Yep.
Did it every weekend, every 2 weeks. And it wasn't too bad. Like I wouldn't sleep for days, but I'll go to sleep, wake up, all right, let's get back to work, let's get back to study, and just get on with the gig. But slowly, we kind of did it it got more regular. So from every 2 weeks became every week. Every week it might be within every few days.
Yep.
And then I started using most of my money into drugs.
Yep.
And when I did, there were times I wouldn't feel good because I didn't have it.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, cool. What do I kind of have to do now to get it? So then I would have to borrow money. I would have to steal. And if I couldn't steal, there was a stage where I started dealing. And when I started dealing, there was a stage where I used all my drugs and then I couldn't deal anymore.
Yeah.
I had to go back to stealing, lying, cheating. So pretty much all the things that someone can do to get it. And then it was like a downward spiral from there. I just got worse and worse, did more worse things, felt shameful towards the things that I did to get the drugs. And yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the drug that you would say that brought you to your knees the quickest?
Honestly, for me, in the beginning, the drug that brought me to my knees was heroin. I didn't like it at first. Like when I used it at first, I felt sick. It wasn't something that I enjoyed. But over time, it was like an acquired taste. I learned to enjoy it. And once I really did, it really got me. Like it wasn't just the mental part of it. It was the physical part also.
Yeah.
So mentally, any drug is addictive. But then with heroin, there's the physical withdrawals, there's the stomach cramps, the bone aches, the sweating, hot cold flushes, vomiting, and irritability, just not being able to feel comfortable. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. So just stepping back a little bit, what brought it to that point? You mentioned before that it was a bit of like peer pressure and social stuff that was going on, that kind of put you over the line to use ice and stuff like that. Was it the same with heroin, or was it that you were already in a little bit of addiction stuff with the other drugs that you'd used, or what was it?
What brought me to ice?
What brought you to using heroin and trying that?
Yeah, the main thing was just the peer pressure. The group was for the group that I fitted in with.
Yeah.
And the group was experimenting with this. So pretty much what the group was doing, I was willing to say yes because I didn't belong to any other group.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is mine. Whatever we do, I want a piece of that. I want to be a part of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I got.
So it was kind of looking for something to connect to and, be a part of.
Yeah, man. Like I think one thing I've come to realize is that it's not even about the drug. For me, it was I was just kind of wanting connection and just being able to fit in.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So going back, you mentioned something that I find really interesting that you said is that you didn't even really like heroin that much when you were using it. And were you using it intravenously or shooting up and all that kind of stuff, or smoking it? How were you using it?
Okay. So in the beginning, we were smoking it. So we'll get tins of pieces of tin foil, chuck the heroin on and smoke it. So we thought it was okay because it was smoking, it wasn't injecting. We weren't like those other guys in the streets who were injecting it, they were stealing, and we're like the high class drug users, we were smoking, we're okay. But from that, I eventually did end up injecting. It was just through, I think I was drunk at the time, and it was almost like I was seeking something more better. Because when I was smoking, it was good, but I was still wanting more.
Right.
Still wanting more. So I eventually started to inject intravenously.
Yeah.
And I think that's when things really spiraled out of control.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when it hit the skid. So when you first tried it, you were smoking. So yeah, as I said before, you mentioned that you didn't like it at first.
Yeah.
And you were able to kind of push through. How many times do you reckon, when you use heroin, how long did it take you to get addicted when you were smoking it?
Okay, so first time, definitely didn't like it. Felt sick and like, I'm never doing this again. I feel like chucking up. I don't know why everyone loves it and why everyone's addicted.
Yeah.
The second time, I'm like, it's okay. I don't feel normal. I guess if I'm not normal, it's okay. Then third and fourth time, this is actually not too bad. I kind of know what I'm looking for. This feeling, it's pretty nice. So I'd say, mentally, it would take about maybe 5-6 times to start liking it.
Yeah.
About 5-6 times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And what was it? When did you realize that you were addicted to it? You kind of mentioned some of the stuff before, and what was that? What was that like when you think back? Like, was it like, oh no, I'm addicted to heroin, or was it just something that was going on? Talk us through that a little bit if you can.
Yeah, so I was just using it for a while, mainly just hanging around with friends. So then the friends would be hanging around, and then we'll kind of kick back at someone's house. We'll smoke up a bit. For me to realize when I was addicted, it probably would have been maybe a few months, about 6 months down the track, when I was physically addicted. I would be sick. My nose would start running. I'm like, why is it running? But I did hear people saying that, like, if you hanging out means if you're in withdrawals, that you would need it. So when I started feeling sick and I was feeling like I had a cold, I'm like, oh, maybe I do need it. And then when I did have it, it gave me relief. So in my brain, it's almost like, all right, I don't feel too good. I'm just gonna go get this. Oh, okay, I feel good now. So it almost like I created a pathway in my head to kind of teach myself how to feel good. So I reckon within about 6 months, I started using every few days. Every few days, I had something to not feel sick. People think that they get really addicted, but for me, it did initially start off as just a thing going in my life at the time. Like I was studying in uni in the city.
What were you doing at uni?
I was studying civil engineering.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah, so you know what? Like I tell people all the time, addiction doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anyone. People think it's just people who come from that have kids who don't have parents, or kids who live in like flats or whatever the stigmatism around it. But it can happen to anyone.
Wow.
So at the time I was going to uni. It was just something going in my life. My friends were doing it. I was doing it sometimes. So it didn't really bother me too much. In my head, I thought I was okay and that I wasn't really addicted. But little did I know that while this was happening, me thinking that it was okay, I kept doing it. I kept using. Every week or 2 times a week. And then eventually I realized that I needed to use it. I needed something every day for me to feel better, because I wasn't able to kind of concentrate at school. If I didn't have it, an opiate in my body, I would feel sick. And feeling sick, I wouldn't be able to think properly, wouldn't be able to study properly, deal with my family and all that kind of stuff. So then I was introduced to something called Suboxone by the doctors. So with Suboxone, it's a replacement. So the replacement is an opiate. So when I don't have heroin, I would use Suboxone instead. So it would keep me not sick, or keep me well while I don't have it. So I stayed on that for a few years, and when I didn't have heroin, I'll be on Suboxone. So that was
okay. So there's so much coming out of this that I want to ask you about. So just going back at that stage when you first started using it, maybe just talk us through the progression of heroin addiction and how, because I hear a lot of people talking about how severe it is and how quickly it kind of took off for them. What was your experience with it? Did it grab you quickly and you were kind of down the rabbit hole pretty fast and using a lot, or was it something that took a long period of time? Or
for me, I think it can. For some people, it can be really rapid, but for me, it was gradual over time. I think it grabbed me within the first 6 months. That is still pretty quick, I think. But
super quick.
It is super quick, but for me, it didn't feel like it. It felt like everything was under control. Everything was under control, and it didn't seem severe at the time. But when it did get to a severe stage where I knew I had to have it or else I'd be sick, then it was kind of almost too late. Like as if like, oh man, crap, what did I get myself into? But at that stage, what can we do? It's like, this feels good and I'm sick. I don't have time to think about how I'm going to get off. It's like, all right, what am I going to do to get this next fix? What am I going to do to feel better? It was always about, how can I feel better? I need to get money. I need to feel better. I need to call this dealer to feel better. I need to borrow some money from my friend or whatever it is.
Okay, so you kind of give us a bit of an insight into it there, but when you're in that time when you fully got a heroin addiction, talk us through your life at that point. What's going on? Walk us through that if you can a little bit. So what kinds of things were you doing? How did you feel? Physically, emotionally, mentally, all that stuff.
Okay, cool. So I'll describe a stage in my life where I was at home. I was going to uni.
Maybe describe the worst. When you're at your worst, what does that feel like?
Okay, the worst. There was a stage where my parents found out that I was using again.
Yeah.
Probably for like the 20th time.
Yeah.
And so then I left home in this house actually. So I left home, went to my friend's house. First thing I went to get was heroin to use to feel better. And then after that, I was couch surfing. So moving to this person's house, that person's house, scabbing off this person, scabbing off that person.
Yeah.
Didn't have a home to live at. Felt like almost had no purpose. Everything was hopeless. And I didn't have a way to get out. But as long as I accepted it, it was okay.
Right.
Yep. So
you kind of gave into it, would you say? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I gave into it. It wasn't something that I kind of saw myself doing in the future. It wasn't my dream to be like that, but it was just so difficult. I couldn't think of anything else. So I accepted the fact that I was going to be like that. So I would be couch surfing. There were times where I would get bashed. There were people feeding me drugs, and then after all different types of stories. I can remember there was a time I was in this person's room.
Yeah.
I wouldn't shower for days. Sweating in bed on a half deflated airbed.
Yeah.
And I was almost like, I was lying in bed just crying. I'm like, oh God, like please help me from this. I actually don't know how to get out of this. Just please help me to get out of it. And yeah, man, emotionally, I was a mess. There's so many feelings, so many thoughts going through my head. It's like, oh, everyone else around me, they're getting on with their lives. They've got a job, they've got a girlfriend, they've got kids now, got a house. Everyone's so happy. Like on Facebook, everyone's like, man, everyone's living their lives. They go on hiking, they got pets, hobbies, goals, and I'm like in this half deflated airbed, waiting for drugs, not knowing where it's going to come from or who's going to even give it to me. Haven't slept for days. I smell. I'm sweating, and the people that are in the house at the time that look down on me, they call me a scab, a bum. Yeah, so pretty much the worst. I had no hope in my life, and I was almost okay with it. I was like, it's not going to get any better. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to stick with this.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's terrible, man.
It is terrible, and that progressed over a few years as well. Not that long. Like from a person who's studying in uni, doing pretty well, doing okay.
Yeah.
To like someone like that, with no hope, depressed, anxious. It's a pretty quick decline, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if I can just touch on how you mentioned that you're in the house and people were sort of feeding you drugs and all that kind of stuff. Were you doing that as some sort of you were doing something for them, or they were just people that are like, why were they feeding you drugs?
Okay, so originally I was hanging around with this other guy, and we were just moving around people's houses and kind of just scabbing.
Yeah.
And that guy, he ended up ditching me, so I was at the house, and pretty much I was cleaning for the person that owned the house. I was doing their dishes, I was mopping, pretty much any kind of housework I was doing for that person. So in the beginning they were feeding me drugs, but I ended up later being a real burden to them, and I had to beg for it. I was almost like a dog, like just sitting there waiting for drugs and kind of say, please give me something.
Yeah.
That's what I had become. I was that little burden in the corner waiting for drugs, waiting for some food, some dog food.
So just the epitome and the definition of desperation. That's what you'd say. Just willing to do anything to, feel like that, like a dog, you said.
Yeah.
Just to get drugs.
Yeah, I was willing to stay like that, until I'm finished. That's it, man. And it just comes to show that how addiction, how heroin or any type of drug can kind of get a person down to that point without the person even realizing it. Like all this is like a blur.
Yeah.
It happens so quick too. So, yeah, it can definitely happen to anyone.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, so that's really interesting, and I guess the immediate question that comes into my head from that is that talk us through, how does someone go from that, and as you said, it being all a blur, and you kind of to some point accepted that that's your lot in life and that's how you're going to be. How does someone go from that to mustering up the strength to want to get clean and then eventually get clean? So how did you get to the point where you went, this is crazy, I need to stop and I need to turn things around? Was the thought process even like that, or was it just like, I need to get out of this house, or how did it kind of manifest for you?
Okay, so that was one of my lowest points. So I tried to get clean a few times. I attempted for a few years after that to get clean. But I think the thing that really helped me get clean, that motivation, is seeing other people live such happy lives.
Right.
Like even on Facebook or just looking around, like I said, everyone's they're building up their families. They have their own houses now. They've got love and so much happiness too.
Yeah.
And it's like something. I'm like, they get a piece of this. I want something like that too.
Yeah.
And from that motivation, I slowly, I really want this now. I want to go to rehab and get better.
Yeah.
So I found this rehab called Teen Challenge, which is a Christian rehab.
Yeah.
So I stayed there for 14 months. So with this rehab, it's like a boot camp. At the same time, we learn about.
So was this, sorry to interrupt, was this the very first time you went to rehab, or is this the most how many times have you been in treatment or just trying different things to try and get clean? How many times would you say that you try to get clean through different services or by yourself?
Okay, so in terms of trying to get clean, it would have been a couple dozen times.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of times trying to get clean. Like I was attending NA meetings. I was trying to do it myself. I would try to detox at home, detox at friends' houses, get support from them.
Yeah.
In terms of services like rehabs, I've been to in total 3 rehabs.
Yeah.
So the first rehab was a 28-day program where I would stay there, detox, and do a bit of counselling. So I managed to stay clean for about 2 weeks after that and used again. And I went back to drug addiction, to using for about a few years.
So I'm an interrupter, by the way.
That's
I
fine.
apologise. Because I think it's interesting and speaks to a point of what I don't even really understand a lot of the time, and what a lot of people don't understand, even if they are involved in addiction or treatment of addiction or whatever. But so you say you went to rehab that first time, and I imagine this was several other times. Particularly with heroin, because I've noticed this is a big thing for people that use heroin, is after that 2 weeks of being clean, why do you go back to it? What kind of happens for you that drives you back, or what was it for you, do you think?
Okay. There will be a lot of times where I would get clean for a week or two, and I would always go back to it, almost not knowing why I go back to it.
Right.
And it's like, in my head, I just feel like using, and I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Within about a week or two.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So, but recently, for the last few years, I've realized that personally for me, sometimes I feel like life gets a bit hard.
Yep.
Like with all people's expectations, family.
Yep.
I come from a very kind of strict family too, and we can talk about that later. So with family, I feel like there's a lot of expectations, and so pretty much life gets too stressful, gets a bit hard, and I kind of just want to reset and just get away from it for a little bit. And to do that, I use drugs. I use heroin, and it makes me feel better just for that little bit, just for those few hours, just so I can get away, and then I'll come deal with life back again afterwards. Yeah.
And because I imagine, for a lot of people that I speak to anyway, and tell me if it's different for you, but I imagine it's not, is that a lot of people, when they originally go to rehab and they get clean, and even throughout the process, they actually want to get clean, and they don't want their life to be like it is anymore. But it's just a weird thing that happens. It's almost like there's 2 yous, and there's like another person that takes over somewhere there and drives you back to taking drugs or thinking that you want to do it. Would you say that that's the same for you? Or did you not really want to get clean? Because that happens as well. Did you not really want to get clean when you went to those rehabs and stuff? What? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So all those services that I went to, all those rehabs, I initially wanted to get clean.
Yeah.
The whole time, like I always volunteered to get clean. Like
Yeah.
wanting to, willingly. But then, as time went on, for me things started to get really hard, really difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is too hard. And it would almost get me by off guard, like as if I wasn't ready. Even though initially I wanted to get clean, but it would always get me again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I would want to get clean, but it just got really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I'd go back to it.
Yeah.
I would always go back to it because it was overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, all right. Just to kind of give everyone a bit of context of why we're doing this interview with Johnny, is I actually saw a live video that he did about himself, which was really cool. And I thought it was a super interesting story. You mentioned before strictness in your family and stuff like that, and I think I don't know what you'd say if you'd agree, but drug use and addiction and whatever happens for a number of different reasons and can spread across, genetics, environment, and culture as well. And your background's Vietnamese?
Yep.
Yep. So, and you're born here, is that right?
Yep.
Yep. So, tell us how drug use, because it is a big thing that's talked about within drug treatment services that I've worked in and been a part of, is how you actually engage different cultures, and because everybody has a different view of everything in life based on their culture and their experiences and all that kind of stuff. How is drug use viewed in your family and in your culture, and how hard or how big of a role did that play in you getting clean or not getting clean, where you are today, talking about it, all that kind of stuff? Tell us a little bit about that, because I think it's super interesting.
I think it's really it's a big topic, man. All the culture stuff, like in the Vietnamese community, face is really important.
Okay.
Like how people view us, like families is like, we have to have it all together. Things have to be really perfect and has to look really good to everyone else.
Yeah.
So in terms of drug use is it has a really strong stigmatism towards it. Like if someone uses drugs in that family probably didn't bring up the child well. So
it's not just a reflection on the individual; it's a reflection on the whole family.
Oh, 100%. That's how the Asian community look at it as well. So it's not just the individual who's using.
Yeah.
It's how the parents brought up. So just say, for example, like if the child has gotten clean or used to be on drugs, they would try to hide it from everyone else. So we wouldn't make it known to other people that the individual used to use, because it'd be too shameful.
Yeah.
So in regards to getting clean, it's almost like the parents wouldn't reach out to get help, because the rest everyone would find out.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, because of that culture and stigmatism, the parents would not ask for help, and if they don't ask for help, it can result in the individual not being able to get better as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that stops a lot of addicts still getting clean, because of that stigmatism around, like, okay, we can't look bad, we can't tell everyone that our son or our daughter is using.
Wow.
So look bad on us.
Yeah.
Yep.
So from a personal, without kind of exposing too much, but from a personal standpoint, what kind of an impact did that have on you when you were trying to get clean and trying to turn your life around?
Yeah. In regards to getting clean, I think for a while my mum struggled. She struggled in finding help, because she almost didn't want to reach out, because people will find out of how she was as a parent. Like she was a good parent, but coming from a family that's divorced as well, she might feel shame that because of her divorce that it could have caused her son myself to get on drugs.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think that for a while, she was she couldn't make up her mind as to how to reach out to get her son better, to get me better.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, all right, I'm gonna have to look really, really bad in front of people. People are gonna find out of my lack of discipline or lack of guidance towards my son. But at the same time, I want my son to get better. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? So I think it was like that for a while, and it kind of, I think that held her back for a while. But fortunately for me, she pushed through. She did reach out to find help,
Yeah.
rehabs, and I did get a bit. I ended up getting better because, she reached out. She put that culture or that shame culture thing aside.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the few, the lucky few, who've managed to get clean because of that. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic, man.
yeah.
Really interesting to hear, and you're right, like maybe we can do the second interview or something soon to kind of delve a bit further into that. But it's something that I find extremely interesting and almost just like another hurdle that, amongst everything that's already hard that you've got to jump over to kind of get clean. So good on you, man. So tell us, what's it like now? Like, so you've given us the snapshot of your life then and the whole journey that you've been on to get clean, all the rehabs and different stuff that you've done. What's your life like now? Like how have you done it? How you feeling? What are you doing? All that stuff. Tell us.
Oh man, life is good now. Like it's awesome, man. Like so, I went to this rehab, this teen challenge. It was called Teen Challenge. Stayed there for 14 months.
Yeah.
So I learned how to deal with my problems. Learned more about myself.
Yeah.
About God. It was like a boot camp, so we had discipline in our lives too. Learn how to work, build relationships, love others. And so I stayed there for 14 months, left rehab, managed to get myself a job. So it was a door-to-door sales job, so I was selling like keychains and pins for a little while.
Nice.
And after that, I managed to get myself a job at the bank. So I've been here for about 9 months.
Yeah.
And work is good. I'm working 5 days a week,
Yeah.
31 hours a week. Going to the gym, keeping fit. My family is really supportive now. They're understanding. They know how to love on me, and I'm learning how to love on them too. Going to church, helping others at the same time.
Yeah.
And life is good. Like inside, of course, like as every other human being, I have struggles. I still have challenges in my life, but now I learn how to deal with it well.
Yeah.
Instead of just having to go back and use to feel better, to reset, to get away from my problem, I just deal with it. And I think one thing that's helped me is my support network, having friends in my life that I can speak to.
Yeah.
Speak to counselors, talking about how I feel inside my head, my emotions, and just asking for support and solutions and guidance on how to deal with normal life problems. Yeah, but life's awesome. Like being blessed, I've been blessed coming from the place that I was in and where I am now. It's such a massive difference.
Yeah. And what was do you hear people talking a lot about, like we talked about before, kind of having cravings or thinking, but do you think you're ever going to go back to it, or do you struggle with cravings 9 months down the track now, or what's it like?
Cool. So I've been clean of drugs for about a year and a half, a bit more than a year and a half. I honestly do have thoughts of using sometimes. It's not as intense or strong as it used to be back then when I first got clean. I do have it now and then, like when I feel like this life gets a bit hard, it might come up as a thought. But nowadays I don't run with the thought. It's just a thought, and I talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there are thoughts sometimes and cravings. They do come back now and then. Maybe not as often, but they do sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool, man. Hey, well, congratulations, and thanks everyone for watching. And we were just talking addiction, and specifically with Johnny, heroin use and heroin addiction. So if you've got a story that you'd like to tell or share, and you want to reach out or get some help with it or whatever, give us a holler, and we'll see you again soon.
Oh, good. Peace, guys.